Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 113 of the Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. This is a bit of a part two follow up from the previous episode 112 Toxic Productivity and Goo States. Goo States, yeah. I remember I took a class and I like this teacher a lot, Sandy Amarim. She talked about this happened to her earlier in life where everything fell apart like this and she was like totally lost. And again, like you've gone through that probably if you're old enough to be listening to this podcast episode, you've gone through a state like that at some point, but you may not have been fully conscious of it. And I guarantee the whole world wasn't doing it right along with you. So that's what's exacerbating the length of this stuff, I think. But so the question I've been sitting with is, what is the value of a life? If we take away productivity, where do we get our sense of value? We are so programmed and conditioned to be productive, to achieve, write that book, sell that course, get that PhD. My dad really wanted me to get a PhD, and I finally had to say, if you want to pay for it, then I'll go get it. But it's fucking expensive, and I'm tired of trying to get through school. I will never get my student loans paid off. So toxic productivity is coming from a sense of we don't have value if we're not productive. We don't know who we are if we're not productive. So what sparked finally getting into my bathroom studio and making a couple of episodes is I started doing morning pages again, which if you are familiar, get thee quickly to a used bookstore and find The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, Cameron. In the simplest way, you can also just go to YouTube, Julia Cameron, morning pages. You'll get a lot of stuff. Tim Ferriss talks about this a lot as a way he manages his mental health. It's really valuable, and I had to sort of quit doing it. But in the state of mind I'm in, I'm like, shit, what tools used to help me before? Let me pull some of those back out. Morning pages are really helpful. Basically, you just get up, run to the bathroom, grab a drink of water, run back and get your journal, and you just free write 3 pages. And it's usually pure garbage. This isn't you're writing content for others. You are vomiting on your page. You're vomiting out all the negative stuff that floats right under your conscious mind. All the stuff you would never, ever say to another living person. The things you don't want to admit to yourself that you think. You vomit all that out on paper. 3 pages. In the beginning, you're like, I can't write 3 pages. But when you get rolling, you'll be lucky if you can stop yourself at 3 pages. So anyway, you can buy a Artist's Way morning pages journal. You certainly don't have to have it, but I have a couple of them that I picked up used because this has been out for a while. You can save some money and recirculate these books by getting them used. So anyway, there's quotes scattered through, and I flipped it open tonight because I did a morning pages this morning. But I'm also reading Janet Connor's book, Writing Down Your Soul. Highly recommend that. Janet, tip normal spelling, and Conner, Writing Down Your Soul. So I was going to do another session with myself, and I flipped this, and flipped it open, and quote 111, my favorite number is 11s and 1s. Many people caught in the virtue trap do not appear to be self-destructive to the casual eye. That's from page 99 of her book, The Artist's Way. Many people caught in the virtue trap do not appear to be self-destructive to the casual eye, right? Because we get rewarded for it. If you're the overachiever, you get all the gold stars. You get more money, you get more accolades, you get more applause, you get dopamine hit after dopamine hit because our dopamine brain loves recognition and applause. And gold stars. Ooh, they feel good. So when we're caught up in toxic productivity and our value is based on productivity, we're caught in that virtue trap. We're good people because we're working ourselves to goddamn death. That makes us good. Do you see? This is so twisted. When we're caught in the virtue trap, we're being rewarded for it. So nobody ever says, you get this kind of stuff. How do you get so much done? Oh my God, you're so good at so many things. Well, if you're working and practicing 24/7, you get good at stuff. That's not a good thing. This is what I'm learning, that so many things that I've been rewarded for are actually being driven by a toxic compulsion. A toxic construct that says if you're not constantly producing, you aren't worth a thing. You have no value if you aren't achieving what the culture says you should be achieving. Sales, home ownership, 2 cars, 2.5 children, or whatever it is now, a cat and a dog, go to the gym 5 times a week, only weigh a certain amount, only look a certain white way. Okay, so this is the big unwinding, the collective unwinding that has so many of us adrift. Okay, so when we think about that, all right, so you recognize you've been caught in a loop of compulsivity, a virtue trap, that the things that make you feel good about yourself actually come from outside of you and depend on you performing. Look at Simone Biles. As long as she's performing, everybody loves her. But she says, you know what, if I keep going, I'm going to hurt myself and potentially die. So I'm going to step back. I'm not going to let my pride push me to keep going. I'm going to stop. All of a sudden, the armchair quarterbacks hate her. There's plenty more. I think there's plenty more people who are supporting her and saying, hallelujah, Jesus. Somebody's finally publicly doing the right thing and giving us a template, right? We don't have any templates. What does it look like to say in the face of a gold medal, I have to stop. I have to stop, so I'm stopping. What does it look like when you feel compelled to always be moving and all of a sudden your energy goes away and you can't move? What do you do with all those thoughts? Get up, go write something. How can you just lay here? Oh my God, you just watched 2 hours of TikTok. You could have written a whole chapter by now. You can't watch TV that long. Go get something. I was doing that earlier, and I went and bought an Afghan loom and watched a bunch of YouTube videos to figure out how to use it. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So I was like, oh, you can watch TV and rest, but only if you're doing this Afghan project. But then I lost interest in it. The energy went out of it. Everything I try to pick up is energetic for just a moment or two, and then it's flat again. So it's like everything, you can get to a place where everything you reach for that's outside of you breaks, goes away, loses the spark, and you're back in the goose state. Okay, this requires you to ask this fundamental question: what is a life worth? What is my life worth if I'm not constantly producing, creating, interacting, caretaking? Why can't I just sit and stare at the bird feeder all day if I want to? Hunter-gatherer societies weren't spending all day producing. They were interacting with each other and enjoying the world. There's plenty of studies out there about how actual little time was spent doing the work of staying alive, hunting and gathering, making pottery, doing some clothes or some shit, making art. The rest of the time was being. The Herkimer diamond that I channel through, I call Be in the Gang. I spell it BE''N, the gang. It's one spokes energy, person, crystalline being who's speaking for a big group of other crystalline beings. Whatever. Anyway, but you can read that so many different ways. But a lot of what they're saying is be, or be in the gang, be in the people, be with your people, be in life, being the gang, meaning you are the whole gang. They are not separate. You're not separate. Nobody's separate. We have these separate experiences, but we're all connected. It's tricky, the name that they came up with, because I was like, that sounds like Kool and the Gang from the 80s. Oh, yes, it's ladies' night, and the feelings, right? Strap on your skates. Let's go skate under the flashing lights with Kool and the Gang. But there's so many deeper ways to read their name, the name that they gave me. But anyway, they're saying that a lot. Just be. And I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Just be. I heard what you said. It's the fold in the cheese, right? Well, you just fold it in. Well, how? How do you fold in the cheese? You just fold in the cheese, David. I can't teach you everything. And he's like, well, can you teach me one thing? Just to fold in the cheese. That's how they say it too. Just be. Okay, well, if just be, that doesn't have value. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to feel okay just hanging out and watching the bird feeder. Birds are hilarious. They have these complicated things that they do. But if I were to try and do that, today I can. I don't know about 3 hours, but today I will let myself just hang out and watch their antics. But I'm going to say even 2 weeks ago, the chatter in my head would have pushed me away from that. Like, what are you doing? You can't just stand here and watch the bird feeder. You've got a whole day with no clients. Why aren't you this list, that list, this thing, that thing? Why aren't you getting out? You know? So we have to redefine, what does it mean to have value in life if it's not coming from outside? So I've been looking at that. We're raised on celebrity, right? The celebrity carrot that's out in front of us. Well, you too can be on MTV Cribs if you produce, and you too can own one of these fancy ass houses, and you too can own a ridiculously expensive car or whatever, as long as you keep, spinning on the wheel and working harder and harder and harder. And we buy into it, right? Everybody wants that recognition because it's normal. As humans, we want recognition. If you're a projector, you really actually need recognition. It's part of your makeup. You need that. But you can't get it from outside consistently if you aren't giving it to yourself inside. But if you haven't taken the time to think about where's the value in a life and look at what you're doing and redefine that value, then it's going to be hard to recognize yourself for, hey, I got out of bed today and took a shower. That's a gold star for me. Right? So have you ever really thought about that? I have never thought about it at the level I'm thinking about it now. All my value has been external. And that's been falling away over time, but I think this is like the big falling away, the big fall off the edge of the earth into the ocean, because now it's like, well, I have an aunt who, my dad's side of the family is extremely poor, Mississippi. sharecroppers, migrant farm workers. None of them got to go to school past fifth grade, but they were voracious readers. And that's what made them intelligent, is they read. And they would ask questions and contemplate life and have discussions and stuff, and they read a lot. But when I look at my aunt's life from my previous perspective, I feel bad about this, but it would be like, but she didn't do anything. She just got up in the morning and did her makeup and then cleaned the house, cooked breakfast, and then cleaned the house. And then, watched her stories and read until my uncle came home, and then she would cook dinner and, when the kids were younger, take care of the kids. But after the kids were grown, then they would eat dinner together and watch TV and read, go to bed, do it all over again. And my ego mind is like, what kind of life is that? And then this other part that's coming to consciousness is like, what a cool life. She had a lot of struggles and a lot of obstacles, but most of her days were spent doing what she wanted to do. She really enjoyed reading. She really loved painting her fingernails bright red. She was so beautiful. Bright red lipstick, bright red fingernails. She was a girly girl. I mean, she could kick your ass if you needed it, but she was very, very feminine. So that started when she was very young. Because back in the 50s, in the poorer communities, you got married 14, 15. I think she was 14 when she got married. Most of my aunts on that side were young teenagers when they got married. Before that, her life had been picking cotton, picking sweet potatoes, picking whatever needed to be picking. She only got to go to school till, I think, 3rd or 4th grade. And that hurt all of them. They loved school, but they couldn't be at school. They had to be out in the fields picking something. So does that count as a life of value? I valued it, her. I hope her children valued her. I don't know. I think my uncle took her for granted, but he sure got when she died, he got to recognize how much, he may have taken her for granted. But when we're defining a good life, a valuable life, only in terms of the number on a bank account spreadsheet, or the number of books written, or the number of accolades achieved, or the number of clients, coach, success stories, yada yada, that's not a very good measurement. That's not sustainable, as we see, as everything collapses around us that has to do with externals like that, as capitalism and all the wars and the things that are very necessary, unfortunate, but necessary. We don't look at stuff until we have to. We're just not good at that. We prefer the don't fix it if it ain't broke. Even if it's broke, don't fix it if we have to think about it. Like, that's much closer to our everyday life working philosophy. But it doesn't work, right? It's falling apart. It's not sustainable. So I think in our toxic productivity wake up stuff, we're recognizing that we can't have external locus of control. We can't be dictated to by our outside environment about how we're allowed to feel or not feel. You're allowed to be this, but you're not allowed to be that. And if you're that and your culture doesn't agree with you, you're going to get blowback, and we're going to try and force you back into line. And if you won't go back into line, we're going to label you a weirdo. We're going to push you to the edges. But there are no edges. So many people are saying, oh my gosh, we really don't need 2 cars. Or let's downsize. I'm not saying that having 2 cars is wrong or that having a big house is wrong. I'm not saying that. But if the reason you have those things is because you think you're not good enough if you don't, that's what's falling apart. People waking up and saying, oh my God, I'm working myself to death just to pay for a house that's way too big for us. Let's downsize and work less and just hang out with each other more. Instead of spending all our savings once a year going to the Cayman Islands or wherever, let's stay home and play board games together or read to each other or talk to each other or just hang out in the backyard. Let's get to know the neighbors. Oh God, that sounds horrible. I try never to get to know my neighbors. Too close, too close. But think about that question. All the women in my life, except for my mother, stayed at home. That's what I was when I got married too young at 19. My expectation and his was that I would, after I had a baby, I would stay home. I was fine with that. So I know now that that wouldn't have lasted very long because I have the achievement imprint. But the moms who stay home, and now the dads, some of the dads who stay home, really take a beating because we say your life's not bad. What are you doing? You're just staying home taking care of kids? How's that valuable? Oh, I guess the survival of the human race is not valuable. Well, where are the workers going to come from if nobody's raising children? You know, it's twisted. It's greed-based. It's fear-based. It's claw your way to the top so that you don't have to feel vulnerable based. It's toxic. Every life is valuable. And when I say that, this is what I practice saying. Over the last, I say 3 days, I'll just ask out loud, what makes a life valuable? Every life is valuable. And my mind is like, well, yeah, but I always got something to say, that mind. Well, yeah, but you're not doing anything. You're living. Isn't that enough? You're alive. Isn't that enough? You have the gift of being on this planet. Can't that be enough? You maybe have some children or a pet that you take care of. Their life is better because of you. Can't that be enough? You may stay home while your partner works, and you may take care of the house and feed them when they get home from work, be with them. Can't that be enough? Can't that have value? And for the person who's not, air quote, doing anything, how do you let yourself feel that that's enough? That's got to be coming from internal definition, sovereign definition of what is valuable and what's not. There's plenty of people who drop out and go off grid because they're like, I don't want anything to do with that bullshit. I'm going to go out here and raise some chickens and then eat them for dinner later. But you know, they're like, but sometimes that's not workable either. But for those who are doing it because they're like, wait a minute, I'm going to decide what value my life has. Not some corporate executive, not fucking Jeff Bezos, not the latest well, kind of. I was going to say pop psychology, but pop psychology is pretty psycho. Not the latest business idea. I'm not going to write more blog posts. I'm going to write a book and put it out there, but not worry about where it goes. I'm going to decide the value that my life has. So think about this for your life. What parts of your life do you think are valuable? And why do you think they're valuable? And who taught you that that part of your life is valuable, but some other part isn't? Because the message is, you being here alive at all is enough, period. That's it. Just you being here. Just you sucking in air and exhaling carbon dioxide. That alone is enough. Being alive. That's it. Does that make your brain cramp? It makes my brain kind of cramp a little bit. How is that possible? How is it possible that just being alive is enough? If you sat on a park bench for the rest of your life, it would still be a valuable life because you had it. It was yours to experience. Everything that they tell me is that the crystalline group tells me echoes everything that's already written. I'm not saying anything new. That we're here to gather experiences. And what those experiences are, sometimes they're pre-planned, sometimes they're not. But even if they're pre-planned and you miss it, you don't do it, who cares? You do it later. There's no time. Time is like a baklava, just layers and layers that all mush together. There's no linear time, so it doesn't matter if you're in this life and you write the best-selling book that changes everybody's life and lasts for 1,000,000 years or whatever. If that's your goal, if that's what your soul group wants the experience of, and you for some reason just don't get around to it in your 80 to 90 years on the planet, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You just do it later. Do it again. Do it. It's all happening all at the same time anyway. Do you see, when we strip that stuff away, we're in a total freedom state and we don't know what to do with that. We don't have a frame of reference for total freedom to define the value of our lives. We don't know what that's like. We've been trained to define the value of our life based on what some other schmuck told us. What some other flippin' weirdo tells us is important. The advertisers tell us what's important. The commercials, the media, the fashion industry, they tell us what we can wear and what we can't wear. And our culture tells us what kind of identity we can wear and what kind of identity we can't wear. What's in, what's out. I think the biggest thing we can take from this disillusioned and dissolving. That's hard to say. Disillusion and dissolution. Jeez. What we can take from that is we have got to redefine our lives for ourselves. If it truly is so that our being here is a gift in and of itself. And in Buddhist culture, if you get to be born a human, it's like this cool deal. And just being here, being human is like a big success thing. It's a big gift just to get to be human. And that's it. That's enough. Woo! You got to be human. That's enough. Whatever you do, that's cool. You do what you want to do, but just being human is enough. Then we can figure out which of the activities are we doing from a pure creative energy moving through us state of being, and which activities are we doing because we think we have to, or we're bad people, and there's a pool of shame waiting at the bottom of that slide? And which activities are we doing because we're scared that if we don't do them, we won't have any money and we'll starve to death, or, whatever. When we create from pure creative impulse, it's perfection. When we're creating because we think we have to, or we're scared of what will happen if we don't do it, that's the danger zone. That's what's falling apart. That's where we have to define the value of a life. What if all you did was make crochet blankets for homeless people? That's it. That's all you do all day. Watch TV, take care of your basics, pet your cat, make a bunch of blankets. Not because you feel like you have to in order to be a good person, but because you truly enjoy the process of making blankets, and you can't store 100,000 blankets in your house, so give it to the people who need it. That's enough. What if all you did was watch TV all day? If just being alive is it, then watching TV all day is not a problem. Very few people actually watch TV all day. If you're in the flow and you're taking a break and you're watching some TV, sooner or later you're going to get tired of sitting there, and you're going to have that creative energy impulse to get up and go do something. But a lot of people are afraid, and they're getting to experience that if they have a bunch of time on their hands, that they'll sit on the couch and watch TV forever and just turn into a gelatinous blob of some kind. But that's not actually true. When you let go of the compulsion of it, when you stop looking for a sense of I'm an okay person outside of yourself, you will eventually get up and do something. Even in the goose state, if I give myself permission to just lay in bed all day, I don't. I have permission to, and I might lay there for a couple hours or whatever, but then I get up when the energy says to get up and go do something. When you're doing it that way, a load of laundry is no big deal because the energy is there for it. Creating a couple of podcast episodes at 2:30 in the morning is no big deal because the energy is here, so I can flow with that. So I still have a lot of more work to do on this. I'm guessing you probably do too. So start in that state, like, what do I do and why do I do it? What am I doing today and why am I doing it? Am I doing it because I really want to, or am I doing it because I think I have to? Because I'll be a bad person if I don't. If I'm double multitasking while watching TV, why am I doing that? Am I doing it because I really enjoy making something while I'm watching TV, or am I doing it because I think if I don't keep my hands busy, I'm a loser? You're looking for compulsion. You're looking for that feeling of, yeah, but if I don't, then something about being a bad person. I'd be terrible. I'll be a loser. I'll be lazy. I'll be blah, blah, blah. Bark, bark, woof, woof. Our brain always chasing circles, chasing its tail in circles. So to bottom line it, when you're looking, what is the value of a life, you're diving into motivation for why you do what you do. And then you're looking for, am I doing it because I need that recognition from outside? Again, it's usually to feel like a good person, like you have value, like there's a point for you being here. This is a big stretch into meaning, the meaning we give our lives. I need to reread Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It's probably been 15 years since I've read that, but it's a really critical book. It's really helpful. What has meaning? Why are we doing what we're doing? What is our motivation? Where are we coming from with it? How are we getting our sense of safety? Are we taking care of our nervous system? Go figure out which nervous system state you're in. And then do a few little, there's a million YouTube videos out there. Go do some exercises to shift your nervous system state back into the peaceful calmness where you aren't worrying about your value coming from outside of you. How do you give yourself your own gold star? How do you make yourself feel safe? How do you let go of anything outside of you having the power to tell you how you're going to feel today? How you're going to feel about yourself? Where are all the places in your life that if that external thing went away, you'd be in trouble? Like you'd be struggling because you wouldn't know how to give it to yourself. I hope this is making sense. It is the middle of the night and I think I'm getting rambly, so I'm going to stop here and just leave you with that question, those couple of questions, like how is your life valuable, and what is your motivation? What's the deep motivation behind why you do what you do, and where are the things outside of yourself that you've given your power to? People, places, things that if it went away, you'll know it has value to you and you're hung on it. If you think about, well, if that went away, and your stomach is like, oh, fuck. If you stop breathing for a second, like, oh, God, oh, I don't know what I would do. That's how you know that you're hooked. Okay, that's all I got for you. Hopefully it won't be another 2.5 months before the energy comes for another episode. But again, you can go to the website, thatmichellewolf.com, and everything is up to date. You can follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/MichelleWolf11. And then if you want a celestial crystal report, that's not on the website. It's just on my scheduling page, and it's michellewolf.as.me/celestial. So until we talk again, think less, feel more, although I did just tell you to do a bunch of thinking. So maybe for this one time, I'll say, think some more about these kinds of questions and then feel into your response for them. Okay. Take care. So much love to all of you. I'll talk to you later.